All right, so in today's video, I'm going to share something called the 50-30-20 rule of money. This is a very important concept to understand, especially if you've ever found yourself in a position where you want to save more money or you want to invest more money, but you're just not really sure where that's going to come out of your budget, how you're going to be able to start doing this more, putting in 20, 30, 40% of your income and finding a way to start saving and investing more so that potentially you can retire earlier, you can afford to pay for your kids' college, you can afford to buy a new home in the future. So there's a lot of reasons why we'd want to save and invest money. But let's talk about this rule of money. Very important to understand, and I think a lot of people are going to find some value in this. And if you do, make sure you subscribe to the channel, drop a like on the video. We would appreciate it. Help support the channel for the algorithm so that it's pushed out to more people. And let's just get started with this. So the 50-30-20 rule of money. It's been around for quite some time, and for the most part, it's a really, really helpful idea and tool that you can use in order to build wealth. Now, there are some critiques that I'm going to leave in here throughout this video towards the end. We're going to talk about some downsides to it and some things that you want to just be very careful of if you're going to follow this strategy. But overall, it's definitely something that in most cases is going to put you in a much better financial position than you would be otherwise if you weren't using this. So the first thing we need to do in order to use this rule of money is we need to calculate our post-tax income. So to do this, simply just look at your pay stub, look at how much money is coming into your bank account after taxes. So you're probably going to be getting taxed before, so your employer is going to be withholding a certain amount of money for taxes. You're going to put that aside, and then you get a certain amount of money in your bank account. So if you're making $45,000 per year, you might only see $35,000 per year actually coming into your bank account thanks to Uncle Sam and the government for taxing us, right? So what you're going to do then is add back any non-tax deductions. So healthcare, or if you've been making deductions for 401ks or IRAs or some other type of retirement accounts, then add that back into this equation just to give us this example number that we're going to talk about how we can use this 50-30-20 rule. And then finally, you want to make sure that you are running a budget really at all times. So I have a free budget template down in the description below. There's no catch. It's just a free Excel template that I made. It's pretty simple to use, but it's going to help you track where your money's coming in and where it's going out so that you're able to really see where you stand financially. Once you do these three things, that's when we can actually start talking about the 50-30-20 rule of money. So the first thing that we need to understand here is that this 50 stands for 50% of your money goes towards your needs. Now, this is a guideline. This isn't to say that this is exactly what you should be at the moment, but more so something that you should be shooting for and hoping to get your needs down to about 50% of your income. Now, the truth is, if you're making $7.25 an hour, it might be very difficult to get your needs down to 50% of your after-tax income. So if you're making $15, $20, $30 an hour, it might be a little bit more possible to do this depending on where you're living at the moment. But the idea here is that 50% of your income is going towards needs. Now, I want to very much clarify what we mean when we say needs. So we're talking about putting a roof over your head. We're not talking about the best school district in the county. We're not talking about a really nice condo somewhere. We're talking about something that gets a roof over your head that counts as a need, okay? The next one, food. Look, some people spend a lot of money on food. We're not talking about restaurants. This is under the needs category. So this is food such as groceries that are very important to survive. We obviously all need food. We need shelter to survive, right? So these two are very important. Healthcare, this is something regardless of your income, you should not be skimping on because the truth is if we don't have good health, we're probably not going to be around for a very long time. So take good care of yourself. This absolutely goes in the needs category. Utilities, not getting your power shut off, not getting your water shut off, not getting evicted from your home. So these are all very important things that are needs. And then also we threw in here minimum debt payments as a need as well. So when we say this, look, the problem with this is that you could have maybe bought a TV with your credit card, but you have a minimum payment on this. Well, the TV is not a need, but a need is to pay off that minimum payment on the credit card at the very least. So we do throw that into the needs category for this, and it is something that's very important. Going along with this for the minimum debt payments is if you have student loans, if you have a car loan, all these things that are going to affect your credit score. If you don't pay them, you essentially default on the loan. That's very, very bad news. You don't want to find yourself in that position. So we're throwing that under needs as well for minimum payments. So those things right here are going to be classified as needs. Try your best to get these down. And look, we have videos on all of these topics. We have videos. I just made a video about how you can save money on groceries. We're coming out with a new one on how I spend between $40 to $50 per week on groceries at the most. So if you're interested in those, make sure you are subscribed to the channel with the bell notification icon so you don't miss those videos. But we've talked about how to save money with housing. We've talked about how to save money with these other things as well as transportation. We'll talk about that in the future. Whether that's a need versus a want depends on your situation. But let's keep moving on here. All right, so now according to the 50-30-20 rule, 30% of your income should be going towards your wants. There's a very large difference between needs and wants, and hopefully we're clarifying that in this video. But as far as wants go, look, clothing, I would classify this for the most part as a want. Now, obviously, you shouldn't be running around downtown completely nude, just running through the street. You're probably going to get arrested, right? You don't want to do that. But the truth is, clothing, it doesn't have to cost a lot of money. If you are in a financial pinch, you can go to 50 Cent Sunday at Goodwill or Salvation Army and get some clothing for 50 cents. For a couple of dollars, you get some clothes. So for the most part, clothing, I would classify it as a want. There is a very small need for clothing. You could budget some of that in for needs, maybe $20 a month for the essentials for clothing. But the truth is, you can get that down very, very low. And for the most part, clothing, it's going to be a want in a lot of cases. Now, phones as well. This is something that is not necessary to keep you alive. It's not necessary to keep you off the streets. So therefore, phones and phone bills, these are classified as a want. And even though this might be something that's pretty important in life, really everybody has a phone, and in some cases you can't even really function without your phone. You go to some places and they say, well, we only accept phones for this, or you can only use the app. And eventually you think about phones in the future. We don't want to go off on a tangent here, but you think about phones in the future. I mean, you might not even be able to call a taxi if you don't have a phone, and it's all Ubers. You have to have an Uber app. If you don't have your phone, what are you going to do? It's a weird situation. But anyway, let's talk about the next here. Restaurants, okay? If you're going out to eat, this is a want. This is an obvious want. It's not groceries. It's not paying for bread and rice and beans and potatoes and vegetables and fruits, but it's things that you're paying the chef to make you food. So this is money that is classified as a want, as well as entertainment and vacations. Now, it's not to say that you should not be spending money on these. Look, 30% of your income can go to these under this specific rule, the 50-30-20 rule. But you don't want to end up like this guy over here where you're just doing absolutely nothing. I don't even know why I drew him on there. But essentially, he's pretty bored. He's got nothing going on, and he's saving all of his money and not doing any of these. And that kind of sucks, okay? So put about 30% towards your wants, and you can change this a little bit. You can tweak it. We're going to talk about that in the next coming minutes here. But find things, really, this can add up a lot. This really can, because you think about all these small things that you don't absolutely need. Maybe you want to furnish your apartment. You got a new apartment, right? I just moved in, and there's a lot of things that you realize if you want a bed frame, that could be $100 some. It could be $200. You want a new mattress. You want some furniture. You want to get a couch. You want to get certain types of things for your kitchen. You want to get a really nice blender. These things add up quite a bit, and your wants, you're going to find that they're filled very quickly. But do an audit on yourself, track your budget, and see how much is going towards your wants right now versus how much is going towards your needs. And then let's talk about the final one here, which is going to be 20% going towards savings and investments. Now, the truth is, I really like to flip these around. So for myself, I find myself saving way more than 20% of my income and investing way more than 20% of my income. But this is a good rule of thumb. And, you know, for people who, if you find yourself making, say, $30,000 per year, then you would split this down into a very simple thing. So for 50% of your money, if you're making $30,000 per year after taxes, you would say that $15,000 of that money goes towards your needs over the course of the year. Remember the definition of needs. 30% of that $30,000 goes towards your wants, so $9,000, and then savings and investments, including your IRA, your 401k, your retirement accounts, all of these things are included under savings and investments. But if you can get to at least 20%, I would argue that you would likely be in a much better financial position than most people today. The truth is, most millennials are not anywhere near this percentage here. And even if you're just sucking money into your 401k or maxing that out, you're probably, not always, but the truth is you're probably going to be in a much better financial position. Obviously, we can't predict exactly what's going to happen in the stock market or in the markets in general, but for the most part, they do go up. Now, debt repayment, we can put this into the savings and investments because really, When you look at whether you should pay off debt or invest, I'd like to think of both of these really as something that is beneficial for your finances overall. So we can put it in this. And then the emergency fund as well. We've talked about this, why it's important to have at least close to 6 months worth of emergency fund that you can live off of if you get laid off from your job, if something happens, if you have to pay some very expensive medical bills. These are all incredibly important. So that is the 50-30-20 rule. Personally, what I would try to do is if you're making over $50,000 per year after taxes and you're not living in an expensive city like New York or San Francisco, so if you're making over $50,000 per year after tax, I would try to really switch these numbers around and go the 50-20-30 rule rather than the 50-30-20 rule. So take 20% for your wants and 30% for your savings and investments. And just this little tweak can quite literally shave off years off of your projected retirement date, so that instead of retiring at age 63 like the average American, you might be able to retire at age 55, maybe even age 50 or earlier in some cases, depending on how much you can get this up. But just remember, overall, look, you do want to spend some money on your wants. Go on vacation sometimes. Make sure that you're budgeting for that. Make sure that you are buying things that you do enjoy. If you love playing music, go buy a guitar, okay? Don't deprive yourself of some of these things, but make sure you have this very well laid out. So hopefully you found some value in this. If you did, make sure you let me know down below in the comment section. Thanks for watching the video. I really do appreciate all the support, and I really like making these videos. So thanks for always supporting the channel. Can't believe we're over 200,000 subscribers here now. It's kind of strange. I'm just talking to a camera here and reaches people. It's very, very, very weird concept. But thanks for watching, and I'll see everybody in the next video.